Welcome. All right, we're going to convene our meeting tonight, and the meeting consists of a presentation by Kirk Klingensmith. So welcome everybody here in the room. We have, I don't know, a dozen and a half people maybe, and a few people online. So thanks for joining us online. I'm John Lively. I'm the new president of the chapter. And there's no other business tonight except to hear from a member of our group, Kirk Klingensmith, and he's going to be presenting a fairly new presentation that he has developed, talking about what may trigger a fish to actually strike your fly. And also, I think part of it is what may trigger a fish to avoid your fly. So there's two kind of flip side aspects to the whole triggering thing. Kirk really doesn't need an introduction, but if you're not familiar, Kirk has been fly fishing for umpteen years, 50 plus, something like that. Tying flies for that long, has fished all over the world, and been a great mentor to many of us and many of the members of our group, and also a very active participant in the academy that we do every year. And last but not least, served as president of this club for 16 years, I think.
16 and a half.
Something like that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kirk to deliver his talk on triggering.
Cool. I'm going to check real quick to see. Oh, we have a few more people, so good. There's a button. Hold it in till the light goes off. Or hand it to John. And then he can use it for questions. Yeah, so if you have questions, you can use the mic, and then the people online can hear. We're making a recording of this too, which will get posted up to YouTube, because there's some people that aren't here tonight wanting a recording, that kind of thing. Welcome everybody. Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be with you guys. Will the technology work? We'll see. Probably not. All right. Hang on. Get the mouse to go. There. Oh. Works. Yes. So this presentation is put together to help us all think a little deeper about fly fishing. And we all know how important it is to think a little deeper. Not gonna work. Oh, yeah, it worked a lot there. Is that it? Just go there. So it's really important to think things through. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna just hit the button. This is gonna manage it this way. So my hope is that everybody takes something away from this talk. I hope that if you're just getting started, you're going to take some things away. But I hope that if you've been around the sport for a while, you're going to take a different level of stuff there. So I've concocted this so that everybody gets something. And I'm going to propose a roadmap of questions. Things to think about, things that I think about when I think about how do we catch more fish. And some questions to propose is, why does a fish put a fly in its mouth? How do they sense their world? What alerts them to danger around? And how should that all affect what we do? So let's start with that first question. Why do fish put something in their mouth? So ask a school kid, why do fish put something in their mouth? And the answer is to eat it. So we think about this as they're put something in to eat. And here's kind of the iconic vision we have of fish. Is they're searching for something to eat. Yes? But I want you to think about all that stuff in the water. What's he looking for? Okay. What's he looking for?
Maybe something's moving.
Something that moves. That's alive. What's he looking for?
Maybe he's looking for scent.
Scent. An advanced player. Yeah. Maybe he's smelling. Let me suggest he's trying to separate the garbage out from food, right? He's looking at all this stuff, and you'll notice that every once in a while he sees something that says food. So what I want you to think about this process called selective attention. So we do this if we're playing baseball and the ball's coming in, okay, we're focused on the ball. The best players are actually focused. They're watching how the seams rotate so they can figure out if it's going to be a curveball. But guess what? Nobody notices the naked guy in the cheap seats, right? You're focused in on that. Selective attention. So we're focused looking for something specific. And what do we do with anything else? So we're looking for those specific signals and we ignore everything else. Yes? Did you ever think about why does a fish take that? Doesn't he see that big thing hanging out of its butt? Right? No, the kids notice that. We kind of been around it for so long. You're going, well, of course you take the hook. Are you kidding? They don't see the hook? They don't see the hook. Why not? They're focused on those relevant triggers that say food. They're looking for movement, maybe scent, things that say that's food because they're tired of eating leaves, right? Are there other reasons they put something in their mouth?
They don't have hands.
They don't have hands.
Well, they may be aggressive or territorial, and so they're sending a message. Now,
Yeah, so let's go here with bills. Fish don't have hands. Yes. How do they figure out what it is? They go, what the hell is that? Okay. It might be food. And they're just like a 4-year-old, they put it in their mouth. What are they trying to figure out? What is it? Are they think it's food? They think it's something they want to understand a little bit more. So they taste it, they smell it, put it in their mouth. Okay? If it's food, they eat it. If not, they spit it out. You ever watch that in a stream? Fish can take and spit it out all the time. They do it all the time. Think about this. Does your fly feel like food? Is that important? If they're in fast water, they want to figure it out. The only thing they have to do is to grab it and taste it and feel it. If they don't do that, they're going to starve. Okay. So think about, why does the mobfly catch tons of fish? Let me suggest to you that it does feel like food. It's very squishy. Other reasons, instincts, eggs. Do you know that salmon and trout are programmed to grab eggs? They're programmed. It's in their DNA. If it's theirs, they put it back in their nest. If it's not theirs, I don't know why, they crush it, spit it out. Trout will eat, but salmon don't. Huh. So they'll put an egg fly in just out of instinct. Somebody mentioned this, John. Territorialism. Brown trout. You get a little fish in their face and they get lit up. They're going to chase it the heck out of there. So invaders are chased, often grab the end. Yes? They're defending their territory, their personal space, especially if they get close to spawning, right? And they chase them out. They're not necessarily looking to kill it or have a meal, but they don't want it in their space. Bass, smallmouth. When they're nesting, the male is protecting that nest. Anything that comes into that area gets chased down and grabbed. Not necessarily food, they take it out. Goby comes in, gets pulled out. Okay? If there's a lot of pressure, that means people fishing. Okay? They won't necessarily chase aggressively. But if you drop a lure, you drop your keys in the middle of their nest, they're going to grab it and move it out. Okay? They're cleaning house. Same is true for largemouth, peacocks, bluegills, and all cichlids. They'll do that. Okay. How about this one? Have you ever seen a group of fish and suddenly one of the little guys is looking kind of frail? He's not swimming really good. I've witnessed this myself. You hook a fish, he gets attacked. Okay. So this will happen in aquariums too. You got everybody's happy, everybody's swimming around, and then Joe's looking a little iffy, and they kill him. It's an instinct to clean up the environment. Okay. Call the weak. Okay. How about this one? You get several fish attacking. This is nirvana. If you have this, you have several fish coming at your fly. I don't know why. They're just like dogs, wolves. Is once there's a chase, I am telling you, somebody's going to get the fly. Okay? Once the race starts, they just lose their heads. And it's the fastest one that gets it. And if one misses it, the next one gets it. So if you're ever in a situation where you notice fish converging on your fly, keep your cool and get ready to set. Recognize that opportunity. Now, here's the fun, is what do? Do you keep it going the same pace? Do you let it pause? Do you strip it? I suggest if you do get a grab and you inadvertently set the hook over your head, get that fly back there as quick as you can, because you got a feeding frenzy. Now, have you noticed that hooked fish will attract other fish? Okay. It's often trailed. Why are they doing that? They're going, whoa, Barney's in trouble. What's going on? Or, look, Barney's got a minnow sticking out of his mouth. I think he's going to drop it. I think I can grab it out of its mouth. Okay. This with smallmouth is really, really common. Largemouth too. And oh, by the way, if you hook a fish, watch for a trailer. If you got two people in the boat, have your buddy drop their fly by that trailer, and more often than not, you're going to get grabbed. Okay. So we talked about a number of things beyond just food, right? Why do they take our fly? So I hope that kind of opens your mind a little bit about why they could be grabbing your fly. Well, let's kind of turn to another question, is how do they figure out what's going on in their environment? And one of the things I want you to think about is fish see different than we do. Okay, a lot's been written about this. I've read a lot about it. And one slide's not going to cover all this. But key points are they see different colors than we see. They see in the UV, and different species see colors in different ways. Scientists have been able to extract that, but nobody's been able to interview a fish. So what we know is the physics of their eyes are different and they can see different colors. So we fret about, that bluing olive, is it really blue? Okay. I want you to open your mind to the possibility that fish ain't looking that fly the same way you are. And you might have a favorite dubbing or a favorite color or a favorite, and maybe there's a reason it's a favorite to the fish. Now notice that fish have eyes on the sides of their head, right? Their binocular vision is to the front. They don't have good vision behind them. I think a lot has been said about that. When they look up to the surface, it looks like a mirror, okay? And notice that the bug puts marks on the mirror. Their feet make dimples. They're points of light. They're easy to see, point. When your fly line goes down, it makes a lightning storm, okay? When your fly line itself hits the water, it shatters the mirror. Now, fish see through in a cone-like window. Much has been written about this. As the fish get closer to the surface, they can see out in a smaller area. The further deep they are, they can see wider. Fish can hear a lot better than us. Sound travels 5 times faster in water than it does in air. Have you ever been in a swimming pool and somebody clunks something metal and it like hurts your ears? Do you ever think about what happens when you jump off the boat seat onto the floor of the boat? Think how that carries. Oh, I just dropped my cell phone. Boom! It's 5 times louder to them. Okay? Now, think about this as the way they can sense for food. So that something dumping in the water is often a trigger. Oh, something just went into the water. When there are cicadas around, it is a major trigger. Bait fish. When a crayfish is scared, shrimp do the same thing. They snap and it makes a sound. I think I just talked about all that stuff. Huh. All right. Lateral line. Ooh, wouldn't it be cool to have a lateral line? What does a lateral line do? This lateral line allows the fish to feel the water. We don't have anything like it. They can feel the water. They can feel a pressure wave. They can feel vibrations in the water. How do you think fish feed when it's really muddy water? The lateral line, they can feel it. So these pressure waves allow them to feel size, location. It's said that a muskie can feel within like over 100 yards, they can feel a fish struggling. Well, carp are really good at feeling too. They have enhanced in the carp in their air bladder have sensory organs as well. So they're super duper, they can feel things. By the way, know who that is?
I do,
Yeah. He was once young.
He's comforted.
So we often use this lateral line to trigger the fish. We have flies that are designed to push water. We call it pushing water. So they're big and bulky, and they move. They create this pressure wave. These are some examples of flies that are designed that way. When Joe Goodspeed was here and he was talking about his musky flies, he talks about the importance of how that musky fly creates a pressure wave. And he also talks about how important it is that it's asymmetric. What am I doing here? I'm trying to get us to think deeper about how our flies are interacting with the fish. I'm not suggesting I have a whole lot of answers. I'm presenting some questions to consider. All right. So here we go. So how does fish sense danger? This is really, really important. So I'll address the elephant in the room. That is an 18-inch white crappie. It is, if Ira would submit for it, it would be an IFGA world record. 18-inch crappie. But it makes a point here. Almost all fish get eaten. I want you to think about that. We're all probably going to die of something other than being eaten, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. But almost every damn fish dies because it gets eaten. Almost every one. In the salmon world, the Pacific salmon world, you have thousands of eggs that are in a nest. 2 fish come back. That's the balance of nature. The rest of them get eaten. Okay? So, what's the point of all this? We need to think a lot about the fish would really prefer not to be eaten. And so survival requires they pay a lot of attention to not being eaten. And big fish are super good at it. Really good at it. The only reason they're big is because they're really good at it. Okay? Right, Ira? Now, how can they tell we're around? Well, they see us coming. Yes. So if they see us coming, if there's danger detected, game over. Okay. So we spook more fish than we realize. Loads more fish than I realize. And the more you fish, the more you realize you're spooking a hell of a lot of fish. So what are approaches that can help? With fish, if you can approach from downstream, they can see best upstream. Not a good place to approach them from. Approach from downstream where they can't see as good. Keep low, keep out. You don't want to alert any flash signals. You want their cast to land light. Wear clothing that doesn't stand out. Tell your buddy that brings the orange cap. That's cool when you're walking through the woods in this time of year. That's really a smart thing to do. Switcheroo it off and put the camouflage cap on now. And keep as far away from the fish as possible. Especially when they can see you easier. Now, they can hear you coming. We already talked about that sound travels really good. But I think this one is way more important than most people think about. If you're splashing when you're wading, I can tell you I've just watched it all happen. I'll be standing there watching a fish. Somebody comes, they're walking, they splash, that fish is gone. Or I'm walking through the water, I'm thinking I'm careful, and I watch him go. Shit. I didn't think he would be there. The grinding sounds when you're walking. And I got a drift belt, so there's a million ways to drop your cell phone, drop an oar. Okay. And they're really sensitive with pressured water. I'm using the term pressured with, there's a lot of people fishing. There's people fishing. My advice is keep out of the water. They'll feel you, and they can feel you. That when you wade, they can feel that pressure wave of you going across. So you'll notice, like, if you go down to the West Branch, you're going to see the very best anglers. They look like a freaking heron. That you can't hear them at all. You can hardly see them move. Keep in mind, if you're fishing out of the boat hull pushes a pressure wave. That's why on drift boat, the person in the front has the best shot, okay? Because they can fish ahead of the pressure wave. Except if you're Bob, you fish to the side. Yeah, or behind. He does that so he can catch fish, and then he says, see, I told you. Okay. Okay. Now, something important to think about is that studies emerge that show fish learn. A lot of research being done these days on largemouth. Really interesting research that came out several years ago that shows about half the population of a largemouth never get caught. They're not susceptible to angling pressure. And they also have learned if a largemouth is caught by a given lure, chances are he will never take that lure again in his life. Now, you do have largemouth that'll take the Rapala every time. Okay, those exist. This is a percentage thing. But most of them take a 2.5-inch silver Rapala once in their life. Trout do the same thing. Do you think it's a good strategy to go down to Sportsman's Warehouse and pick the fly that everybody else is using? Or maybe you might have an advantage. You're a beginner fly tyer. Nobody has a fly that looks like that. True? It is true. We do like the art of fly tying. We do. We like to make flies that look good. But I'm here to remind you, if you're a beginner fly tyer, you have an advantage. Eric makes beautiful flies that look the same every time. But maybe you're a beginner and yours gonna be something they haven't seen before. And, okay. So let's get to the meat. We love to talk about flies. We always ask, what's the, you always ask your buddy, what'd you catch them on? Right? I always get that question. Well, what'd you get them on? Love it. We love to talk about the flies. It's a cool part of our sport. And yeah, flies are important tools. Yes. And some patterns are better at pulling triggers out. And they're lots of fun. But more often than not, it's not the fly. That's the wrong question to ask. How you're fishing it becomes really, really important because everything works together. So many of us have confidence patterns. There are ones where really, this is, in this situation, this is my go-to fly. I think for many of those times, that fly matches what we're fishing with and how we fish it and the water that we favor. But it may not be the best fly all the time. And so more often than not, the reason that our fly doesn't work is we spooked the fish. We were done before it started. It was a damn fly, it let me down. Well, maybe you'd be smarter to put that cast in the quiet water first. Okay. So here's Kirk's view on what matters most. So here's great advice. Fish where the fish are. If there's no fish there, nothing else matters. Sage advice. Glad you drove an hour to hear that one. Okay. I'm going to come back to these. If the fly's not near enough to the fish, it doesn't matter. Fish is up there, he flies down there. Fish is down here, he flies up there. Doesn't matter. If you spook the fish, nothing matters. So we need to think deeply about these. Where are the fish? How do we get our fly where they are? How do we not spook them? So let's think about what near enough means. So in the case where we got a heavy fly of mayflies, the fish are eating on the surface. They're focused up on there. At times they'll focus in on a strip, the conveyor belt strip. So the fish might only move a few inches for your fly. It's competing with thousands of other bugs. So near enough has to be pretty damn close. But if they're hunting, like when a trout hunts grasshoppers, they're looking for sparse things. They're watching from below and then may move 10 feet. Often when they're below the surface, they'll move. But if they're uncomfortable, if they're sensing danger, they may not move at all. Does this help? Does it get you thinking? Okay. So I'm going to offer up that the secret sauce is vulnerability. That the fly must look incapable to get away. So the fly has to be near enough. It has to look like things that trigger its instincts. It either looks like food or it's lighten them up, looks like an egg. If the fly looks like it's going to get away, it's over here, it's watching this thing, it's going, I think that's food. Should I take after it? If it looks like it's a bait fish going to swim away and it doesn't think the math is going to be able to catch it, it's just going to let him go. But if it seems like it can't get away for some reason, that fish can't ignore that fly. So my friend, and probably yours too, used to, every academy, Joe Cambridge has the greatest presentation on streamer fishing ever. And he said, your fly is trying to win an Oscar in vulnerability. Super, super important. All right. Any questions so far? We'll go back. Is it too hot in here? You want to try opening another window? Is that open? It's feeling hot for me. Okay. Keep going? All right. So here's Kirk's thoughts on for trout, what's important. So this is a Pareto of Kirk's thoughts. If the fish are eating on top, your fly has to be on top. If the fly is not moving and your fly, if the bug is not moving and your fly is, now nothing else matters. Okay? If the bug is not moving and your fly is not moving, okay. So how is this helpful? You're in a hatch, right? You don't have that same fly. You don't have the blue wing, olive, size 22, whatever. I'm here to say, if they're eating spinners and you have a spinner, put it on. I think that you'll catch fish. Now, if you light all these up, if you have exactly a duplicate of what they're eating, absolutely, you're going to just light up. But if you're fishing on the bottom and they're eating on the top, you don't have a chance. That's my Pareto. Offering it. If it is clear and sunny, if there's a lot of people around, if there's bigger fish in the area, especially now, things get a lot tougher. Not only do you have to have all that right, they're going to tend to be really selective on specific triggers. Why is that? They're tired of getting caught. They've been caught by whatever fly you're using. They're going to be very selective on triggers. They don't tend to move much, and they tend to spook really easily. And the more the bigger the fish, the smarter they are, the more people around, the more stealth matters. And going so they don't have to move much matters. But what's really helpful is fishing where nobody else is fishing. Okay. Joe Goodspeed gave another talk on how to pursue big trout in marginal water. Why is this helpful? Is because those fish are moving to places where they can get away from being caught. And so they're where they're not expected. But it's not easy because these marginal waters, you got to work through a lot of water to find the fish. All right. Talk about smallmouth. That's my jam. You know that. So when they're actively feeding, the fish will often eat anything that's hanging around where they're feeding. And in the case of smallmouth, impressionistic triggers tend to amplify their behavior. So in smallmouth, if they're eating ants, so John and I There was a classic time when John took me fishing on the Schmung. Remember that? Yes. And John was kicking my ass. He was showing me new water. I didn't know it. I was just feeling like I didn't know anything. And this, and he was putting on a show, and we worked our way downstream, and a whole swarm of flying ants came, and it started raining, and ants started hitting the surface. And by the way, they must taste great. Yeah. We did get to eat some in the jungle. They tasted lemony, but um, all of a sudden there was hundreds of fish on the surface. You thought there's no fish in this river. They couldn't get any more on the surface. Put a gurgler on. It was a big fly, big yellow fly. 100 fish. Just that didn't look nothing like an ant. When smallmouth are eaten on the top, they're going to, and they're just eaten naturally, just go big and you can clean up. Okay. Now, bigger fish, more people, you better get stealthy. Okay. If you want to do battle, you need to get realistic. You need to go in times when it's low light. You really want to fish Bill's Pond when there's nobody else around. You really do. And it's really helpful if you know where some fish are. And by the way, that was an 11 to 13 pound largemouth. Okay, so in triggers, let's talk a little bit about this. Is sometimes the fish sees a trigger, the thing that indicates food, and they'll crush it. This happens a lot when they're feeding, in a feeding frenzy, when there's a hatch going on. A bait fish blitz is a good example in saltwater where you have fish crashing on. It just has to be, all they have to see is that flash and they're on it, right? Often we'll call this a reaction strike. In smallmouth fishing, you plop that fly in the water and the smallmouth is on it like that. A big fly gets in a brown trout. Right now on the Ontario trips, this is the play, right? There's big brown trout coming in to spawn. You get a big fly in their face and they'll crush it, okay? Single triggers. But most of the time, you have this behavior that Blaine Chocolate calls it attracting close. You get the fish's attention with one trigger. He goes, oh, that's like food. Turns, but you need to fly to activate another trigger. This is often the case when they see a flash and they're going to start to follow. They're going to start to track that fly. They hear a plop. They see a wiggling motion. They see a vulnerable bait fish. But they're going to start to pursue that fly. What are they looking for? They're looking for maybe something that's realistic. Maybe it's moving a little bit, but it's not moving a lot. Maybe it's paused. Maybe it's vulnerable. That's what we're trying to think about here. Oops, sorry. So it's become incredibly popular, this dry dropper rig. And it's true that there's times when a two-fly rig can be better than either of those two flies separately. And those are kind of when they're attracted to the one, but the other seals the deal. Yes? Hopper droppers are a great example. They see the hopper, but they take the nymph. Why is that? Okay. So oftentimes we'll use setups with the 2 fly to trigger this. Here you go. So this is my personal best. This Ira took the picture. This spring, almost 6.5 pounds on a Euro rod 4-weight, 2 fly rig. He took the little fly. And how long were you fishing on him before? Like an hour, at least. Yeah, couldn't get that thing to budge. Okay, we talked about a little. Let's think a little bit more. So how do we manage this whole thing that fish learn? So this is kind of obvious. So they can get really hyper selective to triggers that indicate food, especially fish on the west branch of the Delaware. So what are they looking for? So what I'm trying to offer to you is some thoughts. So you're stumped. They won't take your fly. Change. Give them something different. Give them something that gives them another trigger. Maybe throw them that crappy fly that you tied at the beginner fly tying class. Yes. Be really, really, really sensitive. And okay. Am I gonna? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna expand on that last one. So even in times when there's a lot of pressure, challenging conditions, big fish. All right, let me paint the picture. You're in Oak Orchard. Know the place? Tons of people, tons of big fish. Okay. Sometimes it goes low and clear. Do you go home? No. I'm suggesting that you can get them to eat if they don't have to move much, if they have one trigger activated and they're not spooked. I've got a tactic that I use, that 4-weight Euro rod. You go up to Oak Orchard. There's, in the morning, if you get there, there's so many people, you can't go with somebody else, or you have to split up to find a place to fish, right? And there's tons and tons of people, and they're all fishing indicators. But guess what? Come about 11 o'clock, they start thinning out. For me, I take my switch rod, I go back to the car, and I get my 4-weight Euro rod. Now things are thinning out a little bit. That Euro rod is a lot stealthier. Okay. And I start fishing the marginal water, not where everybody else is fishing. You want to really piss somebody off? You hook a big brown trout at their feet. They really light up. Okay. So I'm telling you, I've done it. Is those fish can be gotten. So yes, your tools, get the fly line away from the fly. If you're delivering nymphs, go stealthy. Go dry dropper. Yes, you can go over to Erie, Pennsylvania with a million other people fishing for steelhead. But don't throw those big indicators in there unless you want to be frustrated. Go with some light stuff. Get the smallest indicator that you can possibly use, or contact it. Okay. So there's times when you got to go down and get them. They're down. They're not suspending up. You still have stealthy tools. You got a floating line, long leader, get a sink tip, contact nymph. You've got lots of tools at your disposal. Okay. Here's an interesting learning experience I had this summer. I fished with this guy, Chris Corkado. Okay. We fished the flats on Cape Cod. This guy has been guiding for like 20 years. We're fishing knee-deep to waist-deep water. We're fishing for those size fish and bigger, okay? He's using a weighted crab fly, a sinking line, a fairly heavy sinking line, and they're retrieving it with a tip all the way down. What are we talking about here? He's intending, so normally when we think striped bass, we're thinking big bait fish. We're thinking stripping through busting bait, that kind of thing. He's sight fishing if he can, but he wants to get the line on the bottom so the fish can't see and feel it. So you're using the heavily weighted fly, tip all the way to the sand, and you're dragging the whole thing on the bottom. I'm going, that was worth spending a fair chunk of dough to learn that. Okay?
Kirk, was this sand flats?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's on Monomoy. In the what is it, National Nature Preserve there? Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm completely intrigued by the innovation in our sport. I hope that comes through. I just love to learn. There's so much that we're learning. If you think that fly fishing is the same as your grandfather's, you're missing. There's so much cool, innovative techniques that are developing at almost the speed of light. I just love learning about this kind of thing and thinking more deeply about why is that would work. And maybe would that work in some of the situations that I fish in? All right. So if you're newer on this adventure, I'm here to assure you that you can catch fish and have fun without thinking deep. Okay. That's my first fly. Those of you who have been in my beginner fly tying class, I always show this fly. Okay. I tied this at 10 years old. Okay. You all know what that pattern is, right? This is a fan wing Royal Coachman. Yes? You all know it really well, right? Stunning, huh? Nobody told the 10-year-old me that fly would not catch fish. I went out and I caught a lot of fish on that fly. Okay. Kind of funny. Okay. We choose to fly fish because it's challenging, because it's sporting. With knowledge and skill, fly fishing can be the most effective way to catch fish, and it's certainly the most fun. I hope that I've given you some encouragement on that journey. And as we advance, then the deep satisfaction comes in being successful when it's the most challenging. So that's my granddaughter, now 5 years, soon to turn 6. Yeah, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Did I stump you? No question. There was no questions. Go ahead. So in contact nymphing, so we use different names to describe the same thing. You'll hear it called Euro nymphing, contact nymphing. Those are terms to describe actually a spectrum of approaches that have evolved over 50 years that now fall under this Euro nymphing category. where there's engineered rods and lines. I guess my speaker's not working anymore. Okay, so typical contact nymphing is a long rod, light line, and is tended to deliver a fly in the water, either near the bottom or above the bottom, depending on the technique. Much like indicator nymphing, this uses the line to show, instead of using an indicator, the leader itself, any motion on that leader will be imparted, and that's how you know that a fish has grabbed your fly. That, okay.
My apologies, I have.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
leave.
go.
I already explained.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Better than actually the first time you did it. Several years ago.
Ah, ah. Actually, there's more than one that's heard it before.
Not mine.
No, that's mine. Good.
You know, you talked about fish remember what they bid on before.
Yes.
Bass might bite on the same lure.
Right.
I was growing up, family had a home on a good sized lake. And at that time, we fished with hula pop. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, after a while, I started biting on hula pop. And it was like, you know, why aren't they biting on hula poppers? And then we switched to purple worms, and then we would catch them on purple worms. But Kirk made reference to my pond, and when we moved up there, I started fishing the pond, and of course it's full of bass. And in my tackle box, no bass in the hula pop. So I cast the hula pop around. Because they had never seen it before.
Right. But so let me kind of play on what you just brought up. So there's certain, just like with a hula popper or a buzzbait is another common thing. Just like that, with fly fishing, we have types of flies that make a lot of disturbance on the water. What I have observed in my fishing is those baits often are intended to pull in what I'll call lit up fish, fish that are ready to attack. They make a lot of noise, they make a lot of disturbance, but the other side of it is that any fish that's not in that kind of an attitude is going to head for the bottom, okay? So I've learned this in a painful way. If you're in a couple drift boats, the people with the buzz baits are in the last boat down the river. Because if they're in the first boat down the river, the rest of you are going to have a bad day. Okay? It's an important thing to consider because we in fly fishing do the same thing. There's certain flies that we make a lot of commotion and they can be really effective in certain things. But realize that when you fish that, then you're going to get a percentage of fish who are attracted, but you're going to light the whole place up for everybody else. So just a thought. Go.
So fishing with lures, you use a loop knot.
Yes. So in any fly that has any kind of action to it, I always tie a loop nut on it. So for me, these would be like, I think everybody fishes like a jigging fly, a Clouser minnow with a loop knot. That hinging effect does two things. It contributes to the jigging action, which is important to the fish, but it also, when you throw that lure, your fly in, then you're going to sink faster. That fly is going to flip up vertical and it's going to sink faster. So I always use the loop knot on jigging fly, weighted flies, streamer flies, popper flies. I fished with a guy who was an incredible trout guide on the Bow River in Calgary. We were actually in the city floating the Bow River. He used loop knot on every fly. I don't do that, but I can see the motivation. Yeah. What's that?
Canadian thing.
Yes. He was an incredible guy.
So I'll make an observation based on something you said. The idea that fish won't bite the same fly twice. Fish are smart, right? In a way that they kind of get clued into what people are using. And I'm thinking of, Salmon River and other places, the Kenai, where beads are the thing. Everybody uses beads. Everybody uses. And the guides on the Salmon River, everybody uses green beads. Everybody catches a blue gill. It's a great day for the guide. Doesn't have to work too hard. The clients catch a few fish. Everybody's But if you talk to some of the guides, it's not true on the Kenai too. Spend a lot of time using nail polish or other things to create a custom look
Yes.
on their fly, different from every other bead. Why is that? I always thought it was kind of like, is that bead better because you decorated it? I always thought that was a bunch of bull. Now I'm thinking, well, it's not so much that it's an actual pattern important. What's important is it doesn't look like everybody else's bead, which came right out of the packet.
Right.
So something to be said for whatever you have on the end of your line. It should be different, right? And I often do this when I'm fishing pressured water. I look around and I see what everybody else is using. I see pink, 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 pink. I'm not going to put on pink. Putting on chartreuse, right?
Yeah.
It just makes sense with what you're.
Right. Makes sense for me.
Can't hate on
I mean, they have their place, but if you're the 10th person down the river using a pink fly, it loses its punch.
Well, Kirk has this slide invented called a Barbie fly. You have a picture of that, or?
Oh, I'm sure I have a picture of it.
It's deadly. It's got a chartreuse body.
Yeah, so the Barbie fly is a chartreuse woolly bugger, and it's got a pink beak. And I didn't know what to call it, so I just called it Barbie fly because it looked like Barbie would like it. But it's really effective in those kind of situations. Now, so bluegill and bass, so bluegill and bass are the same family. Well, chartreuse, especially the yellow chartreuse, is like crack to them. So, and I've found that when you put a pink highlight in, it seems to amplify that. I don't know. You could ask me, Kirk, I just watched your presentation. Do you think they really see chartreuse in pink? No, I guess I opened that door, didn't I? Could be.
Well, if they don't, they see something different.
Right.
Colors that they like.
Yeah, but whatever it is they like, that's why I kind of get a little fiercely loyal on certain colors. Those of you who've tied with me, you know that I'm like, get a little bit anal about, I like this particular chenille and this particular color. And I, what underpins that is the knowledge that what we see is not entirely descriptive of what the fish see. So I'm thinking about the possibility all the time that what the fish like about my fly and what I think they like about the fly might be different. And so I get really reluctant to jack with the materials because I know that's an experiment. Now I do it and I'll experiment around, but I think it's helpful to think about it in that way. They may not see what you're seeing. So your buddy's fly that looks the same as yours, and you're going, damn it, they're smoking me, might not look the same to the fish. Quiet in front, yes. Anything else?
Bar's still open?
Bar's still open. I'll be hanging around for questions.
Thanks very much, Kirk.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody that was online.